Yes, indeed, it is the We Are You Morning Crew. I am George Daigle, and you're in the right place to get sizzling subjects and trending topics on this December the 1st, 2020, World AIDS Day, as it's celebrated since 1988. It was the first ever global health day. The World AIDS Day, observed each year on December 1st, is an opportunity for people worldwide to unite in the fight against HIV, show their support for people with HIV, and remember those who have died from an HIV-related illness. And in the studio, I have three very well-versed men who will help me discuss, dissect, and have a dialogue about World AIDS Day and how it is affecting our community. So let me introduce the gentleman. To my left is Traylon. Did I get it right this time? Correct. Say again? Correct. Traylon. Okay. Traylon, and this is Lorenzo here in the middle. Yes. And this is Malcolm Reed. So we are here to discuss. So let's go ahead and start at the top of the conversation with how your organization, what your organization is, and how it plays its part in HIV and AIDS awareness. Any one of you that want to take it?
Yeah, so Thrive SS was started 5 years ago. Actually, this Friday is going to be our 5th anniversary of incorporation. The organization actually started in May of 2015 as a Facebook group supporting Black gay men living with HIV. And since then, we've been doing the work. Our mission is to make sure that we are advocating and fighting for health equity for Black men, for people living with HIV, actually. And we've got so many programs going on. Right now, we are, the biggest thing is we're releasing a movie tonight, and I'm really, really happy about that. Wow. We are releasing a movie. It's called Colors on the Wall. And last year, with a project that we initiated called Project Griot, we released a movie called Outrun the Sky. It was about 5 young Black gay men living with HIV in the South. And it did very, very well to help us fight stigma and just tell the story of people living with HIV. Thrive stands for Transforming HIV Resentments into Victories Everlasting. And one of the things that we try to do is to make sure that people understand that you can live and thrive with HIV. And so in this film, we took it up, we did a little diversity here. We said, you know what? HIV is not just impacting Black gay men. HIV is impacting Black folks, especially in the South, at disproportionate numbers. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 cisgender heterosexual females, Linda Felix and Frederick Jones. We have 1 cisgender Black man, Pastor William Francis. We have 1 Black man of trans experience, Action Howard, and he lives in New Orleans. And we have 2 Black gay men that are part of our network, Kevin English Taylor and Nathan Townsend. And they are telling their stories of living with HIV since the 80s and thriving with HIV. And we're really excited about it. We'll release the movie virtually over Zoom tonight at 6 p.m. And we'll have a question and answer period with the audience and do some fun things to make sure that people have a solid understanding of what HIV is, how it is transmitted, how it is not transmitted, and some of the other things that we're fighting and advocating for. But these people will tell their stories about, you know, how they live and thrive for all these years with HIV.
So is the film more of a documentary, yes, or is it like a dramatization of their lives?
It is a documentary. Okay. As I mentioned, it's part of a project called Project Griot. Mm-hmm. Griots are storytellers. Mm-hmm. In West Africa, the word griot means storyteller. And so they are telling their stories, their life stories. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
All right, so if they want to look at the movie, if they want to see the movie, how do they access that?
What I will do is I have a Zoom link that they can register, and I will send that to you, and you can post it on your page.
Certainly.
Right, and it's also, the event is also sitting out on our Thrive SS webpage, Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Thrive SS on Facebook, you'll see it. And the other good thing today is we are launching our website today.
Wow.
We had a website, thrivess.com, and we had some issues with that. And we decided, you know what, let's take this opportunity to just revamp the entire website. So we've been working with a company called Corporate Lounge. Shout out to James and Crystal of Corporate Lounge. And we've been working hard to get this website ready. Right. And it is ready. And you can click on Linkage to Care and some of the other services that we'll talk about later on in the show. But yeah. That's the other thing that we're doing. So World AIDS Day is packed for us.
Good. Now I'll switch it over to you, and we'll talk a little bit. Now, as you have been a part, how long have you been a part of Thrive?
Now, I've been a part of Thrive for about 1.5 years now.
Okay. And how has it been for you, and what role do you play as its advocacy board?
Now, it's been amazing, and for me, I'm the programs manager of Thrive. So when it comes to our programmatic means of support and our services, I'm the one in charge of tracking, evaluation, reporting.
Okay. Now, what is it looking like? Because I know COVID-19 has kind of changed the face of how you're able to test, and the access to it. Have we seen the numbers go down because of COVID-19? Because nobody's commingling, or
we've actually seen more requests for services. For example, housing we all know that housing was a problem in Atlanta. This pandemic made the situation worse for a lot of people. So we've seen those numbers spike. We've also seen a spike in mental health requests for those resources, as well as we come across some new challenges in this quarantine and this isolation and this distancing. It brings up some stuff for some of our brothers in network. So we make sure that we take care of them by making sure that they're mentally healthy as well, not just, reaching viral suppression.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about on that. Now, I will move over to my left, and Trey, I want that hat after the show. Thank you very much for donating it. I appreciate you. Tell me exactly what it is that you do with Thrive and what your role is.
I am the Linkage Program Manager. And so
let me talk right into that. Put it in your mouth like it's food. There you go.
I am the Linkage. Look, I'm messing up your microphone. All right, is that better?
Yes, perfect.
I am the Linkage Program Manager at Thrive, and basically that is helping individuals get linked to services and resources.
Okay.
And the great thing about that is you have agencies sometimes that focus solely or primarily on medical access, but we at Thrive believe that in order for someone to truly thrive, the entire person has to be considered. And so that means we not only link you to medical care, but we also link you to any resources we have with housing. We link you to any resources we have to mental health. We link you to any resources we have in regards to substance abuse. But also, we link you to social networks, which is very important. And that is one process of healing that people don't tap into much. We don't think that just having a buddy or having someone you can talk to about experiences you encounter is therapeutic, but it's very therapeutic. So we believe in a holistic approach, if you will.
Now, there are a lot of men and women who are, suffering or living through, living through HIV, and are still embarrassed by their status, still reticent to share their status with other people because they believe there is still a stigma attached to it. How does Thrive help a person feel comfortable so that they can get into this network and take advantage of the mental health processes and things like that?
Well, I would say at Thrive, we don't center stigma. We center self-acceptance and self-love. So that's the message we really try to drive home there, is that HIV does not conquer your life. You could thrive with HIV, and it just becomes an aspect of your life, an aspect of who you are, and not the center of it all.
Okay.
And to add to that, we also do have certain curriculums, learnings that we do to make sure that people understand what that stigma looks like. For example, with the Silver Lining Project, which is a project for older black men living with HIV, we have a course called Silver Skills. And why we talk about HIV and aging and what HIV does to your body and what the medication does to your body, we talk about PTSD and trauma. Most people think PTSD is just about military service, but there's a lot of PTSD when you grow up when you grow up gay, when you grow up black, and when you grow up living with HIV, there's a lot of PTSD associated with that. We talk about spirituality and loss. But the final module we talk about is stigma, because we want people to be able to understand, recognize that internalized stigma that they've been living with, those things that they've been fighting themselves about, as well as that external stigma that they faced. And once they identify it, they can walk away from the course saying, hey, you know what? HIV is just something that I live with, just like you might live with arthritis, or so-and-so might, it's just something else that I live with. I manage it, but it doesn't control me. And after that, we do a photo shoot. We do one of our I Thrive campaigns. We do photo shoots, and we post those pictures on social media and let people know, hey, we are living, we are thriving with HIV, and, it's not going to stop. I myself have been living with HIV since 1997. And I must say, I'm 63 years old, and I look wonderful, right. and I feel wonderful. So, doing this work helps you thrive. But whatever you're doing in life, get up in the morning, take your pill at night. Whenever you want to take your pill, if you're on that one pill regimen, go on about your business.
Yeah, now I've seen the campaign, which I think really puts a positive spin on taking the medicine, because guys good looking in pictures. Just saying.
And one of those gentlemen is in our network. One of those gentlemen in the Victoria commercial is Alfonso Mills, and he's in our network.
Oh wow! Yeah. Oh wow! Congratulations! Oh, see, I know. Well, like a third separation, 6 degrees of separation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know it's Thyra. Now let's talk about the stigma. Let's talk about something that's always been a thorn in my side for years, is that there is still the criminalization of a person with HIV maybe not disclosing their status, and the person then becomes positive. I find that reprehensible. I find that strange. I find that it is marginalizes a community that's already marginalized enough, and which is why a lot of people probably don't want to share their status, because, I am looked at differently. I'm seen as almost a criminal if I don't follow certain things. How is Thrive helping to change that? Is there legislation on the way to change that? Anyone can speak to that?
Yeah, let me speak to that. So part of Thrive, a part of Thrive that I started working with Daniel Griffin and Jack White was PASAN, Political and Social Action Network. Now, Thrive is a 501c3, so we have to be careful how we tread that line politically. However, we can advocate for policies that protect and support people living with HIV. So right now, as far as HIV criminalization, there was a bill on the table last year in the Georgia House, and we almost got it passed, but we are going to work with Georgia Equality and some other groups to make sure that gets placed back in front of the Georgia House and the Georgia Senate. Hopefully in this legislation period. I am part of the Georgia HIV. I'm part of so many acronyms.
We see that.
But yeah, I work with Georgia Equality and a couple of other organizations. I'm also the Fed Policy Chair of the USPL HIV Caucus. So with all of that, we make sure that our members are aware of the laws. And speaking of that, let me just tell you, if you are in Georgia and you have unprotected sex with someone, or I should say condomless sex, we're not using unprotected sex anymore, condomless sex with someone, and you do not disclose your status, whether you transmit the virus or not, you can be arrested, which that's the part that's reprehensible. We live in a time where science tells us that undetectable equals untransmittable. So if you are taking your medication and you are undetectable, then you cannot transmit the virus. And therefore, what are they arresting you for? You're not posing any danger to someone. But that is the law, and that has been the law for, since the 80s or wherever. And we have to fight we have to fight that. We have to make our politicians understand science, and we know that in this political climate, science and politics are at war, and
Right.
we've seen that
Yeah.
seen that with
Yeah.
COVID, right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
there is a certain segment of the population that doesn't even want to hear and doesn't want to listen to anything scientific. So we have that battle, but we are fighting that battle. The organization that I was struggling was the Georgia HIV Justice Coalition. And I also work with a wonderful organization called CERO, that we are partners, and we are working on HIV is Not a Crime, which is a training academy that happens every 2 years. This year it will be virtual, in late May, early June. And so we're doing what we can to put the information in the hands of the people who need it, and also to fight on the policy side to make sure that we get these laws changed. We've had some successes in North Carolina and Colorado and some other states, but we're still working hard in Georgia.
World AIDS Day 2020, every year since 1988 on December the 1st. Wearing red and wearing the red ribbons. Where did the red ribbon even start? Does anybody know? Anybody?
I don't know.
I have to research that. I know it's been the representation for years.
Somebody told me to wear a red ribbon, so I put one on.
Right. I put on a red shirt today because I ain't had no red ribbon.
There you go.
But anyway, so we're talking with the men of Thrive. I have Traylon, Lorenzo, and Malcolm. And we've been talking about the organization. So let's wrap up the talk, the business. Let's wrap up the business.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the real deal, all right? I don't know where that voice came from, but I'm ready.
Your Harvey bias.
Right. Oh my God. It's going to be
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. All right, so let's talk about ambassadors of Thrive. Let's have that conversation.
Yeah. Well, just a little bit about the ambassadors. That's our core volunteers right there, the ambassadors. And before we had staff, before there were any staff, it all began with volunteerism and volunteer work. And that's where we really center MIPA, that meaningful involvement. And for virtual volunteer opportunities, you could just email me at Lorenzo at thrivess.org or call me at 404-267-1519, extension 5.
Who are some of our key ambassadors?
Now, some of our key ambassadors, our chairs, for example, could be like Joe Robinson, Jerome Hughes, John Patton, William Berry until he became staff, Nathan Townsend, Rod Alexander, Antonio Wilson. We have DC Branch, Virgo. The list goes on.
Wow. Okay. Oh, and you know what?
What?
Speaking of Rod Alexander, we also have a Toastmasters chapter for Thrive.
Okay. All right.
For those of you who don't know what Toastmasters is, Toastmasters teaches you how to speak in public. And, I don't know the whole mission of Toastmasters. I used to be a member years ago when I was working for AT&T. But Rod came along and said, hey, we could start a Toastmasters group here at Thrive. And started about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, and they have won awards. They're doing great stuff. They're doing really great stuff. We are really proud of them.
So are you guys members of the Toastmasters? Because you all are well spoken, very well spoken.
Well,
I am.
Lorenzo is, and we're supposed to be, but like you said, when do I sleep? So I sleep while they're at Toastmasters. I don't have much else. I don't have much other room on my plate. So, and my husband will attest to that. Hi, love.
Hey, his boo boo.
He just said the other day, "You work all the time." I was like, "Well, I do, but I love it."
I can understand. All right, so let's talk about the movie once again, because that's a pretty big thing. Now, the movie is going to premiere. When is it? Tonight at 6 p.m.
Tonight at 6 p.m. Okay. It's going to be virtual.
Now, let me tell you something, baby. See, the reason I had that camera there. So
I know. I'm supposed to look in the camera.
Well, no. So if you can't see your face, we can't see your face. If you can't see your right. Okay, there you go. Now, all right.
Yeah, so the movie's going to premiere tonight at 6 p.m. over Zoom, and I will send you the registration link.
Great.
But yeah, we're really, really proud of this movie. It's called Colors on the Wall. When I thought about the name for the movie, I thought about Whoopi Goldberg, and I could still see her face, Miss Seeley, saying, I just want to sit back and see what colors they put on the wall next.
You're right.
This group is so diverse and so energetic. I just can't wait to see what else they do, because all of these people are, like I said, are living, thriving with HIV, doing work in the community that is outstanding.
Now, when you guys started casting the movie, was it just through the Thrive, organization? Did they have to audition, or how did that process work?
So when I was first asked to do this movie, it was supposed to be a part of the Silver Lining Project, Black gay men living with HIV over the age of 50. Mm-hmm. So we did a focus group on that basis. And then somewhere after the focus group, I thought to myself, I said, HIV is impacting more than Black gay men living with more than Black gay men.
Certainly.
I wanted to broaden the scope. And so, I mentioned to Larry and Dwayne, I said, hey, let's try to include, the rest of the community, cisgender females, cisgender heterosexual females, the trans community. And so I started reaching out to people and saying, who do you think would be good? And so we did another focus group with those communities involved. And then we started doing interviews. We didn't do auditions. We did interviews, because since it was going to be a documentary where people were going to be telling their story, there's no audition there. It's just do an interview, tell me your story. Why do you want to do this documentary? What does this mean to you? That type of thing. And so we picked 7. Mm-hmm. We had a female of trans experience, a male of trans experience, as I mentioned, 2 cisgender heterosexual females, a cisgender heterosexual male, and 2 Black gay men. Unfortunately, our trans female, she took ill during the early parts of our filming, and so she had to back out. But the rest of it is gold.
Is she fine now?
Oh, she's fine.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
she's fine now. She just had to, she had some medical issues that she had to take care of. She took care of them, but by the time she took care of them, we were already deep into filming. So,
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, but hey, depending on how this goes, and 2021.
Yes. So now you've added producer, director.
Yeah, I'm a producer, y'all. I ain't never thought about that. And those of you who are watching that work with me at AT&T, I'll say he's doing what?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So I'm not going to take all that credit. Alvin Agarat Films, directed, produced, coached me, helped me. Alvin does a lot of work, doing films in the community. For Counter Narrative Project, CMP. He does a lot of work all over the community. So if you need something filmed, if you need a documentary done, if you need anything filmed, give Alvin a call.
And give him my 10% since he just did that free commercial.
Yeah.
But let's talk, because this is where we were going to call it the Brown Liquor Conversations. Mm-hmm. So we were talking earlier about when gay men get together. There's usually this ideology that gay men can't get together unless there is some type of sexual overtone or overture or theme with that meeting. And Traylon had some interesting comments on this. I'll let you go ahead and take the first head on that.
Okay, sure. I mean, yeah. So before we get directly to that, just focusing on Thrive a little bit, we do and have been successful at having social interactions where people were really able to come and formulate positive relationships, increase their camaraderie amongst one another, and sexual undertones were very minimal. However, we as men, whether we're gay men, heterosexual men, however you want to identify, men are sexual. One of the misnomers has always been, or what I recall, is people saying things like, oh, gay men are so overly sexualized. Gay men are so promiscuous. Every time you get a group of gays together, they're always going to talk about sex. And that may be the case. However, we're men. We're men first, and then we're gay. So regardless of whether we are gay, we are just men, and we are no different than any other man, whomever, however you identify, heterosexual, queer, what have you. And so we really have to erase that stigma that people are continuously putting out there stating that gay men are so sexual, gay men are promiscuous. No, men are just sexual. Men have these thoughts. I mean, do you remember the earliest moment when you pulled that sock out? Hello, somebody.
Excuse me, what sock is he talking
You know the sock.
I went to Catholic.
Well, what do they have there? Handkerchiefs? No. I mean, but seriously.
Seriously, you're right.
I mean, do you remember that first time you began to explore?
Yeah.
Very early age with your peers. So, as men, naturally, we are just sexual. So we have to stop making the distinction between gay men being more sexualized than straight men. We're just men. And I think sometimes the balance you have in heterosexual situations, or I just say situations, is that you have sometimes that female energy to sort of counteract that, calm that down or what have you, when men are being over sexualized. But when you have the same type of people together, we're all men, you rarely get that balance, I guess, if you will. So it's just more visible, if you will. But we're no different than straight men. We're men.
Okay. Now we were talking. I couldn't help but laugh at the sock remark, because many a crunchy sock.
Many crunchy socks. And
socks.
I put it behind the dresser,
Right.
so Mama wouldn't find it.
Right. But look, there was another conversation, a sub conversation to that. And we were talking about sexual identification, and we were talking about verse, top, bottom, when you first knew, and all of that stuff. Now I remember growing up, and there was not a name for it. There was not a name for versatile. And I had always been versatile, but they were like, you need to pick one. You can't be both. You can't do both. So that was really a thing for me growing up, a stigma for me growing up, because I was like, okay, why I gotta pick one? Why? But now things are changing and things are different. How was it for you guys? We just having these brown liquor conversations. I'm just trying to tell y'all.
Well, for me, not knowing when I was younger, I thought the bottom was the one who was shorter. Just by the rule. Just by the rule. But here I am, 14 years later in Gatum, and now I just know that I'm a verse guy who prefers to top, and that comes with learning and experience. So
he got that one in.
He got that one in.
That's right. That was streaming live.
Yeah, he got that.
Let me let y'all know what I'm about.
And since we're on the subject, are you single, Lorenzo?
Not anymore, no.
Okay. So, all right, y'all thirsty people, just gone.
But you know what's interesting, and a conversation that we have with the older guys was, we say now that we've advanced, we're not there, but I disagree with that. I from what I see, guys are a lot more restricted. Oh, he's a bottom. Oh, he's a top. Oh, here's a top. And it's like, I grew up in a time when it was, let's get together and see what happens.
Right.
But I find my younger brothers, he's a bottom, he's a top, and then there's stigma around that too, right?
Oh yeah, because there's the new thing called bottom shaming.
Yes. The whole bottom shaming. And why are you shaming a bottom? First of all, if you are a top, why are you shaming somebody that you want to have sex with? What's up with that? But then again, go back to sexual history. Mm-hmm. Men always shamed women who wanted to have sex. They were hoes.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Right.
You out there doing this. Right. Now all of a sudden they something dirty, but you know
right.
Stigma is just a ridiculous thing, and it is something that we fight every day.
Especially in the microcosm of the gay community, we all, in going back to that subject that you were talking about, I always hear the younger kids, I was about to say girls, I'm so sorry, y'all. The younger kids are, I would never let a bottom get on my back. Oh no, that's never gonna happen. I'm like, well, how did you know? Because girls, you might have, and you just didn't know.
One thing I love about being gay is that these rules of patriarchy don't apply to us. We can be whatever we want. Like, for example, I consider anything on your head a wig and anything on your body drag for anybody, no matter how you identify. So I just wish that more of us just didn't apply these rules that don't fit us on our lifestyles or who we are.
Because I feel like we are trying to heterosexualize our homosexuality.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Point blank. And I'm quite sure that there are many reasons that people have, but really when you look at the whole umbrella of bottom shaming, I feel like it's because it begins to put in question your masculinity. And again, we're trying to identify with what we were taught a man is supposed to look like and a man is supposed to be. So if you're in a position of being submissive, then that means you're taking more on a feminine role. And as a bottom, being looked at, someone is looking at you as less of a man, and that should not ever be the case. So we need to stop trying to heterosexualize our homosexuality, because there are so many, as you colors on the wall, there's so many colors that we have to us. And look at the flag. I mean, look at all these types of things. So we have to get to the point of having these conversations and not trying to categorize ourselves and put ourselves in boxes and state that, oh, if you're identifying as a top, you can only do this, or a bottom, you can only do this. Tops and bottoms are like puzzle pieces. How can you shame something that you have to get together to fit with? Without a bottom, you're not going to have successful sex. Without a top, I mean, and let me rephrase that. Without someone who's topping or without someone who's bottoming. Because you can identify with any role and still do both of them. So just let me make sure that that's clear. Not that I'm saying bottoms or top, just whatever role you're doing at that specific time.
We got
so
yeah. That makes sense.
Right.
Now here's the other thing, because you mentioned it about heterosexualizing our gayness, and you always hear, well, I want somebody more masculine. Well, what does that actually mean? He's not masculine. He too femme. And I hate that whole generalization and trying to categorize. He's less masculine. He's more masculine. And first of all, if you're looking for masculine, y'all all masculine. It's just a different interpretation or how it looks on you. Anybody?
Well, for being in a relationship for 23 years, and we just celebrated our 23rd anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
But, when I first started dating, people was like, well, who's the girl? I'm a gay man. There is no girl.
Right.
It's like, well, who's the wife? And Stuart and I, hey husband, and it's just, that's us. And there may be a gay relationship where one partner in the relationship identifies as more femme than the other. Mm-hmm. But that's them.
Right.
That is not all gay relationships. Mm-hmm. To Lorenzo's point, the wonderful thing about being gay is we can throw colors on the wall. We can figure out whatever we want to do. Yo, I like you. You cool, blah, blah, blah. We find out, okay, he likes this, he likes that. Yeah, I like that too. But, there have been men who have walked into relationships with those traditional Heathcliff and Claire Huxtable roles, and then they stay together for 5 years, and then they find out, you know what, I like something different. And if they are smart and if they are strong in their love for each other, then that relationship morphs into whatever it's going to be. Whatever they decide to do when they get in the bed behind closed doors, in front of open doors, however they want to do it. But the point is that don't lock yourself in this box because somebody told you that that's what you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Wow. Good. Okay, we're gonna come back and next time bring your significant other, because I would love to do a panel on people who have been in long-term relationships and how that looks some odd years later.
Okay.
Because I know things change. Things change. I've been in a relationship a long time, and some things change, and some things have not. And thank you for that, baby. I appreciate that. But Lorenzo, what do you have to add to that?
Well, I think we're all socially educated to be what we are supposed to be for our societies, for our communities, for our families. One of the good things about Thrive is that part of the education is learning that you are okay as you, whatever that you is. So, that's all.
So we were talking about all of the services that Thrive does, and there's so much that you guys do, kind of like all encompassing of what is needed in the community. But there's an organization or a part of your organization called R3.
Yeah.
Explain what that is.
Now, R3 is our linkage to care program. R3 stands for, there are 3 R's. The first R being to re-engage. We re-engage you into care, engage you into care, then retain you into care. And that's through our follow-ups. And we make sure you have your appointments within a year's time, usually 6 months apart, at least 2 appointments. And then we reduce. That's the third R. So once you're re-engaged and retained into care, we reduce new diagnoses, and we reduce those feelings of isolation that comes with being out of care. Now, through that, we refer you to services like STI testing, HIV testing, and to contact us, you could just reach Traylon at
Traylon at thrivess.org. That's TREYLIN at thrivess.org. Okay. And I'm under a month new, so I don't remember our phone number just yet.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, we could reach us at 404-267-1519, extension 1.
Or you can reach William.
Oh, yeah, you can also reach William Barry, also William at thrivess.org. That's WILLIAM at thrivess.org.
All right, great. Yeah. Good information. All right, so we were having some, you know what? I'm going to take a break. We can go to the next hour because there's some conversations that, just as men,
yes,
gay men, that we talk about. Still, we talk about pronouns and the proper terminology and just discovering things. So we'll talk about that. It is World AIDS Day, and we're commemorating how to continue to live and thrive. See how I did that?
Yes.
With HIV, and you can go to thrivess.org. And you can contact them on Instagram, and I'll pop that up on the screen for you so you can see that information, and you can contact them directly and see what services they have and how you can take advantage of that. But we'll be back. I got to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to have real conversations. We're going to have that brown liquor conversation in just a few moments. Y'all ain't ready.
Well, what happened to the white liquor? Wait a minute.
Oh, we're going to have that brown.
Brown brings it out. Brown makes you tell the truth.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to the We Are You Morning Crew. I am George Daigle. It is World AIDS Day. We need you to thrive. We need you to get the information that you need so you can live a healthy, happier life. We've got more of it on the way. Good morning. So we were talking earlier about what Thrive does, and let's just kind of pick up the conversation where we were. Now, we were talking about a certain part of the community, men of a certain age, who are getting older, and a lot of gay men are single, and maybe don't have a traditional family to help take care of them, or children or anything like that. So that's a whole segment that has special needs. Is there something that Thrive and or Silver Lining is able to do for them?
Yeah, so the Silver Lining Project is a project that I started with the help of some of my brothers, Darrell Branch and Joe Robinson and Claude Bowen and Nathan Townsend. And when I first came to Thrive, when I first became a member of Thrive, our executive director, Larry Scott Walker, said, if you guys want to do something, do it. Let me know. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I have been to other organizations looking to see what is available for guys my age. I said, and when I see things for older people in the LGBTQ community, I do not see older black men. Mm-hmm. And I definitely do not see older black men living with HIV. Mm-hmm. And I said, I want to start a program for that. And Larry said, do it. And coming to this from the corporate world, I was like, what the hell you mean? Just do it. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What the hell? I don't know what I'm doing. Right. But, mm-hmm. I worked through it. And there was a point where, because of, I didn't really know exactly what to do, and everything, things slowed down. And then But I've always believed that if you put something out there and you want something to happen, the universe will conspire to help you do that. And the universe conspired and sent me DC Branch. And DC said, you know what? We don't have to do the whole Facebook thing. Let's just do a photo shoot, and then we'll do a messenger thing. And so we did this photo shoot. And all the guys came, and we took pictures, and we just posted them, And we had this messenger thing going, everybody just saying good morning, helping each other out. And that revived the group. At the same time, we got a grant. And the name of the grant was, Silver Lining. And so we formed the Silver Lining Project, and we won that grant. We filled out the information. Claude, myself, and Nathan wrote the grant, submitted it, and we got the money. And so we started these programs that I mentioned before, Silver Skills Curriculum. We do OBA's Roundtable. We were doing it before the pandemic. We were doing it once a month, where it was good old-fashioned rap session. Y'all millennials don't know what that is. But back in the 70s and 80s, we used to have rap sessions where people would get together and just talk about different topics. And so we were doing that once a month, talking about anything from finance to dating to sex. Yes, people over 50, over 60 still try to date and still have sex. Okay.
Say what?
Yes. It's stunning. Wow. And so, because the Silver Lining Group was formed for guys who are facing those esteem issues, that loneliness, that anxiety of, I'm no longer the cute guy at the end of the bar. And if I am the cute guy at the end of the bar, all the young guys are preying on me because they think I got money or whatever, whatever the issues or and whatever the perceptions are. And so we talk about all of those things. Since the pandemic, we've increased it to a weekly OBA's Roundtable. Okay. Because we knew that guys were sitting in, especially in the early part of the pandemic, when you couldn't go anywhere. We wanted to make sure that our members were not, sitting there in isolation, just, getting worse and worse and more depressed. And then we even increased it to do a Tuesday night happy hour over Zoom. So we all get our adult beverages and sit on Zoom and do what gay men do, talk shit and have a good time. So it keeps us, in touch with each other. It keeps that sense of community, and it keeps guys from sinking into that loneliness and depression.
Certainly. And what age group do you start for people?
Over 50.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm a little young yet. Shut up.
Yeah. Over 50.
Okay. All right.
Come on in the room, George. Come on in the room.
Well, now I was reading recently, and I don't know how much you can discuss it, but we discussed it off the air, so I have to bring the conversation up because it is a little bit of an issue. I saw that PrEP, Truvada, is in the middle of litigation. Now, while we don't really know all the details, and that's still going on, one of the misnomers about PrEP for a lot of people, not just young, some old people, believe that it is the magic pill. That is hey, if you're doing what you're doing, if you take your PrEP, you're good. And is Thrive or any part of the organization teaching that? Because I know it's not just about sex, but prevention and good habits are important. So is there anything that you guys do that talks about that?
We don't right now have any program specifically geared to PrEP. What we are going to do in the next year is start working on some programs where we can either dispense PrEP or I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Certainly.
Because there's some things coming down the pike that I'm not going to say yet.
Yeah.
But we're working on a lot of things in that area. But the thing that Thrive does well is educate. And we just let people know, look, we know that black gay men especially, are disproportionately impacted by HIV. Mm-hmm. And if you don't believe that, then look at what's going on with COVID. Black people are disproportionately impacted by COVID.
Now, that was my next question, because I know this is a group that deals largely with men, but I have to ask the question because there's just a female that said, well, what about women? I heard her way over here. Mm-hmm. What are the stats? You know you did. What are the stats with black women? Do you have any of that?
I don't have the stats in front of me, but we do have a group headed by Freda Jones called Lotus. And the Lotus Group is for women living with HIV. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, Freda is also featured in our film that we're releasing tonight. So, Freda is a powerhouse advocate. She was diagnosed 18 years ago, and she has been out there ever since. And one of the things that you will get from the film tonight is, Freda constantly says, hey, HIV has not stopped me from doing anything. As a matter of fact, it grew me up. Yeah. And she spreads that word to the ladies in her group, and we are partners, and we're Lotus's big brothers. And so we're doing a lot of that work. And like I said, when we decided about this film, I didn't want to leave anybody out. I said, look, HIV could care less whether you're a man, a woman. Black gay men are impacted, but we've got Thrive. We built Thrive. Thrive is there supporting black gay men. But when we wanted to do this film, we wanted to tell the story about everybody. Look,
which is important.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when you see the advertisements now, usually would be centered around men, but now in the advertisements for medication, you'll see cisgendered women and straight men, straight women, and so you realize, okay, this is not just for one part of the community, which is really important. Now, I want to get to you, Trey, because you've been real quiet over there. But we were talking earlier about how your department helps people link with things that are out there, like insurance and all of these other things. What is it that you see, especially now that people are dealing with HIV during COVID, job losses and all of that stuff? What is it that your department does and sees that is really in need right now?
Everything. However, one of the biggest needs, of course, is housing. Housing is always an issue, and the lack of housing can definitely negatively impact someone mentally and in so many other ways. So what we are doing, of course, we are a linkage service. So we find resources and we try to ensure that individuals are able to access those resources. So I'm glad you asked me that, because we also have a meeting today with a director of a housing program, and we're trying to begin to establish a stronger collaboration with this agency who has the funds, the HOPWEL funds that we talked about earlier today, in order to help individuals living and thriving with HIV gain housing. So we're having a wonderful meeting this afternoon with that director to talk about how to streamline services, to ensure that we're increasing our collaborative efforts with them, to make it an easier transition for individuals who say, I need housing resources, to be connected to those resources.
I got to play the devil's advocate. A lot of times we hear, we have these services, we have that services, but then there's so much red tape attached to the services that you say you have available, and people become exasperated and like, look, whatever, I'll be on my own. Is there, let us take you through step 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there someone, an advocate, who takes them through the process, or do you just shove the paperwork, and I'm just being honest, shove the paperwork in front of them and there you go? No,
we are the advocate. And what we do at this point is, before linking individuals to resources, we do, as much as we can, a thorough process of engaging that resource, finding out what your requirements are, finding out what the barriers to accessing your services are. And before we link individuals to those services, we try to iron out all of those kinks. That's why we have those conversations. That's why we're making sure that we're interfacing with these resources and not just saying, hey, I heard about this, why don't you check this out? It's no, I've spoken with such and such director over at whatever resource that you're looking for, and this is the process that they've informed me of. Also, this is our follow-up piece to ensure that you've gotten those services and you've benefited from those. So we establish relationships with the resources first. Okay. After we've established those resources, then we do a handoff and what we call a soft handoff, which means, yes, we're now connecting you to this resource, but we're still in the mix. We're still following up with you and for you. We're still finding out what are the barriers to you accessing this, if there are some, and what are the successes as well. So we don't just hand you off and say, I hope you have a wonderful time accessing those services. No, we're with you every step of the way. And we also do follow-ups in increments of 7, 30, 60, and 90 days when we link individuals to services, just to get that feedback, to find out what your experiences were, what your feedback is, what the good, the bad, the ugly is, and then we, again, go back to the table to those resources, bring up those concerns, and make sure that we try to iron out any of those kinks.
Wow. Good. That was good. That was real good. I feel more comfortable because, again, you always hear how people get lost in that whole bureaucracy, the bureaucracy process.
So let me tell you this. This is, I guess, what makes us unique. Many of us, as a part of the network, you talked earlier about disclosure and comfortability with your sexual status or your HIV status. Mm-hmm. I, too, am HIV positive. And this is the first time I'm saying this in public. Wow. So that's cool, and I'm comfortable with it. And so what makes us very, very unique is that we're not only dealing with individuals who have a situation or who have a virus and we're not educated about it. We are individuals who are also living and thriving with this virus. So we, too, have gone through all of these barriers that you may have encountered. We, too, have also experienced some of these same feelings, emotions of discouragement or not being heard or being looked over. So being that we can relate to you as the client or our consumer, then at that point we're able to make sure that the transition from talking to us to being linked to that service is much smoother because we can relate, we can identify, and we know how it feels. So that's why I said we not only link you to medical care, but we treat the whole person. We talk about that emotional piece. We talk about that mental health piece. And we are able to have those conversations with you. And we also have support groups for you to be able to voice your concerns and opinions about that too. So because we are not only assisting you with that care, but because we're also living and thriving and going through some of the same experiences that you have, we have better insight on how to navigate through some of those processes.
And it's also why a lot of us got into the work. For me, for example, I began the work by volunteering. But even before that, when I learned of my status, it was after a conversation with our executive director, Larry Walker, that I took my first pill. So we are coming from firsthand experiences of living with HIV and thriving with HIV, and we are doing the same thing for other people in the network, newer people who are newly diagnosed, so that they could reach the same place, like each one teach one kind of thing. So that's really important. What he really spoke to is our tiered support system. So we pair in-person support, peer support, and virtual support so that everyone has all that they need, because we know that support helps with adherence, increased self-efficacy, decreased feelings of isolation and depression. So that support piece is really very important, and that's the best way to get to viral suppression, and we know from firsthand experience. And that's why I'm proud to say I'm HIV positive, I'm living with HIV, I'm thriving with HIV, and I'm virally suppressed because of the tremendous support I've had from Thrive and our UA, which is our internal support means.
No, I just want you to keep talking. I like hearing your voice. Just keep talking. One of the other things that I want to talk about is 1988 was the first World AIDS Day. And looking back, some of us have all, had HIV for years. What have you seen from 1988, from the commemoration to now? The advocacy has changed. Is it better? Is it worse?
I will say this before Malcolm jumps in and speaks to that, because he knows. I love this day. I love this day because it's an opportunity to really learn of our history. We have our culture as gay people. We have our history, and this day is a great opportunity to learn the stories that makes us, that build us, that got us to where we are, learn of our advocates, our own heroes, and spread that to newly diagnosed folks so that they know that you're not alone, and we're all in this together, and we're going to do this. It's not like it used to be.
And the differences? Blackness. You know, 1988, it was black people themselves still believed it was a white gay man's disease. And the world reacted like it was a white gay man's disease. And therefore, black folks were, you know, black gay men, black trans, black people of trans experience were not recognized as part of the conversation, as part of the care that was needed. And so, you know, the advocacy was really, you know, it was a fight just for, you know, recognition. Right now, in every group that I am a part of, the first thing we talk about are people of color. You know, we know that, again, disproportionately impacted by this virus, disproportionately impacted in the healthcare system, period. And so we know that the advocacy has helped us. We know that the advocacy with the drug companies, we know that the advocacy with in public health has all gotten us to this point. I mean, if you think about 1988, you have visions of people laying on a gurney with lesions. And now, you know, we're sitting here, 3 black gay men living with HIV, thriving with HIV, representing an organization started by 3 black gay men living with HIV, thriving with HIV, where all of our staff, except one person right now, are black gay men living and thriving with HIV. Because we know what we need. There is an expression, there is an acronym called MIPA, which means meaningful involvement of people, and it was an old term, so it was meaningful involvement of people with AIDS, but we just say meaningful involvement of people with HIV and AIDS. And we know that nothing for us without us. We cannot allow advocacy in public health to be dictated by doctors who have never experienced this. We can't allow it. We can't allow it by agencies who have never experienced this. We have to have people living with HIV on the board of directors. We have to have them in management. We have to have them in all facets of any type of service that is supposed to be supporting people living with HIV. And so, you know, it has taken a long time. But you know, we're making great strides, and we're here to make sure that doesn't die.
Wow, we're going to take a break on that. This is some good stuff today. I'm just trying to tell you. We have in the studio with me 3 representatives of Thrive SS. And if they want to get in touch with your organization, what is the new website?
ThriveSS.org.
.org. You can spell the org just like it sounds. Org.
It's ThriveSS.org, and again, Thrive stands for Transforming HIV Resentments into Victories Everlasting, so it is all capitalized, and the SS stands for Support Services. And contact us. We're on Facebook at ThriveSS. We're on Instagram at ThriveSS. Did he just give me the walk-off tune?
I think this is the Grammys.
You know,
It wasn't really. I was just letting you know we're getting ready to go to break. And we're going to go to break, and we'll be back, and we'll talk some more about where we are as we celebrate, commemorate. I don't know if those go together, but commemorate sounds better. World AIDS Day, December the 1st. I am George Daigle. This is the We Are You Morning Crew. Hey, y'all. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, our final segment of the day, and it has been a pleasure. I love when I have eloquent, well-spoken, good-looking guests that I can talk to. And today, on this World AIDS Day, I have 3 very fine gentlemen from Thrive.org, ThriveSS.org, and that is the website that you can go and talk to anybody and find out their services that they have available. Traylon, Lorenzo, and Malcolm have been so wonderful coming in and spending the day with me, and I really, really appreciate that. We were having conversations. I always say the best conversations happen off the air. So now let's bring it to the air, because Traylon, you had, I forgot what we were talking about. We were talking about, what were we talking about? I know it was relationships. No, the ring. That led us to other things. So you have a ring, and I was asking you if you were married, but then there was a reason behind the ring. Did you care to share it?
Oh no, I don't mind sharing it.
Okay.
Yes, I am a single black gay male who's open to dating. And I do wear a band on my, ring finger, according to the heterosexual society, because I now see some gays that are married wear it on their right hand. So I do wear one on the traditional ring finger, but for me it's a symbol or symbolic for me, because I'm a Taurus and we're very symbolic. And many times when we as gay men enter relationships and they're not successful or they don't work out, we begin to generalize that that's how all men are, that's how all dating situations are, and we rob ourselves of healthy and successful relationships. So I know ultimately I want to be married. I want a husband. And so I wear this ring as a constant reminder that this is my end goal. So anytime I get into a situation where I'm frustrated or I feel like it's time to throw the towel in, I look at this symbol and it reminds me that I need to put the work in to get to the goal that I want to achieve. So for me, it's personal. And I just had someone the other day to tell me, well, this is, if you could continue to wear this ring, then that's going to really repel people who could possibly be into your life. And that could be possible, but if it does, then it just means that wasn't where they were supposed to be at that time. So correct. I don't think it's a deterrent, but because it's helpful for me, and it keeps me grounded and focused and motivated to put in the work when it gets a little challenging.
Mm-hmm. Now, to even answer that person's questions, whoever said that, I mean, like I asked if you were married. If they're not even willing to ask, are you married? Because I see the ring. Mm-hmm. Then that leads you to the conversation, and then you can have the other conversation. I'm interested. Let's talk, blah, 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 blah. Now, we talked about putting in the work, and that may be a lot of times a hindrance for us. Do we even really know how to put in the work anymore? Are we willing to put in the work, and what does that even look like or mean to most of us?
That's a lot of questions, but right, and y'all can jump in too. But for me, and I'll just say historically, and I'm generalizing now, because of the breakdown a lot of the times of the black family, we haven't seen successful, healthy relationships as a whole, as a culture. Yes, we do have marriages and things of that sort, but many times we come from single-parent homes where that parent is just really working and struggling and trying to keep things afloat. So it's rare that we see them in healthy relationships. And even me coming from a single-parent home, and my mom was female, I guess because of her thought process of, I don't want to introduce my children to people I'm seeing or guys I'm dating, I never saw a clear picture of what a successful, healthy relationship looked like or what putting the work in meant and things of that sort. Yes, my grandparents were married, but don't seem like they really did any work. They already did all of it, so they just existed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the things. And then on top of that, I think we need to get to know ourselves to figure out what our wants, desires are, negotiables, non-negotiables, all those types of things. So maybe we do, maybe we don't know what it is to what the work looks like. Right.
And as Traylon is speaking, I'm sitting here thinking of what gay black male relationships can I think of as an example. And we don't really have those. We don't have those examples. We weren't taught how to date other gay black men. And ultimately, people revert back to what they want. So that's what I revert back to in my relationships. What do I want? I want to get to know you. I want to try. And that's what leads to the success. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And to add to that, as a person who's been in a relationship for 23 years, I get a lot of questions. How are you and Stuart still together after 23 years? And then I answer them, and then they reject it.
What's the answer?
Well, I mean, like I will say, I let Stuart be Stuart, and he lets me be me. Number one, because a lot of men are about control. Mm-hmm. I dated a guy once who said to me, "Don't no man of mine go to the club without me." So I pecked him on the cheek and said, "Okay, baby, goodbye. I'm on my way home. I'll call you when I get home." And I called him when I got home. I said, "I'm home." And then I jumped in the shower and went to Loretta's. Yeah. And then I was dancing on the speaker. And then he was like, somebody had told him that I was down there. And the next thing you know, he was standing there looking at me. And I said, "Don't ever give me an ultimatum. Mm-hmm. Don't try to control me. Don't try to control your partner. Understand who your partner is. Let him understand who you are, And then if you want to call them boundaries, you go ahead and set those boundaries, but that's between the two of you. Don't model your relationship after somebody else. Right. But if you want to know, if you do want a role model, then look at people like us who have been together, and then when you ask the advice, don't look at them, I can't do that. Well, you don't know what you can do until you try.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, Stuart and I have a rule. Don't disrespect me. I'm not going to disrespect you. When we argue or debate, and we very rarely do that, we just listen to each other and then, okay, you said what you said, I said what I said, and then we'll marinate on it later. And it doesn't have to be solved right then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Time solves a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
You know.
That's my motto.
Is that your motto?
Yeah.
My motto is all things in time.
Yeah.
Because it not only does it teach me patience and reassures my friends, time really is the governing force out of every aspect of your life. And if you just sit back and be introspective long enough, you'll really see how much time plays a part in all things. So I like to let time do the work when it comes to knowing somebody, when it comes to a major decision, and let time answer the questions for me.
Wow. Yeah, you deep. You D. Okay then. So 23 years. I'm gonna ask the question. I got a few more minutes, and this is on you. 23 years. 23 years ago, your relationship looked a lot different than it does now. The things you felt, wanted, needed. I believe, and I stand by this wholeheartedly, in relationships, just like people, they evolve. So that evolution for you, when did you realize that was a part of the process to hold on to a 23 relationship? And were you reticent or were you willing?
I was willing. Our situation was, I was coming out of another relationship. I had been, Stuart is my fifth. He is the fifth long-term relationship that I've had.
I was gonna say fifth husband. Damn.
No, not my fifth husband. My fifth long-term relationship. I ain't really Elizabeth Taylor. But yeah. And so I had run all the tests. You know, I kind of knew what I wanted, and I kind of knew, again, you weren't going to control me. You weren't going to tell me where I was going to go, when I was going to go, how I was going to go. You weren't going to do that. Or as the kids say now, what you not going to do is tell me. What you not going to do is tell me where I'm going, what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. And so I knew that. Stuart, on the other hand, had never been in a relationship at all.
Oh, wow.
He had a couple, boyfriends, but he was like, look, I ain't been, And the night we met, it wasn't supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be no relationship. It was I met you at the bar, let's go. But after we started talking about the basic things, music, likes and dislikes, that kind of stuff, I was like, I like this guy. And, it was around this time of year, Christmas was coming. We spent the holidays together, Christmas together, and we developed that friendship, but while developing that friendship, those conversations naturally happened. It wasn't, okay, where are you on this point? No, it wasn't that. It was just a conversation. And then I have this, now one of my things is, I would not date a man that did not have a close relationship with his mother. That's just me. That's just me. I'm not putting that on anybody else. And I know that just like anything else in human life, there are horrible mothers and there are great mothers, right? But for me, if you did not have a great relationship with your mother, then to me, you were somehow damaged. And that said something to me. When I met Stuart's mother and I saw him with his mother and he talked about his mother, it was game over.
Wow.
His mother was a Virgo, just like me. His mother's birthday was on the 14th of September. Me and his mom used to finish each other's sentences. Wow. Because she was, and he got along with, and he talked about his mother. And when you look from a horoscope perspective, Sagittarius and Virgos ain't supposed to get along. Mm-hmm. But he had that experience as a Sag dealing with his mother. And we work. Wow. We work. Everything ain't all roses, and it's It's been 23 years. There have been some shouting matches and blah, blah, but most of the time, it's just you be you, I'll be me, and we'll make it work together.
Well, you know what? That's a great point to end this on, because I got to pay the bills. But you guys have been amazing, amazing guests. I appreciate you so very much for being here. And anytime you guys want to come back, feel free to do so. Feel free to do so. I really would love for you to come back. This has been some great conversations.
It's been good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you put on those masks. Be safe. Wash your hands and wash your ace. And go out and vote today. There's a special election in Fulton County. Make your vote count.